All systems go. Cleared for takeoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, aka ToeTagginTambo. We're back for the final regular season event of the PGA Tour season. We've got the Wyndham Championship here on the YouTube station, SHIPIT Nation collaboration. Got my boy Hoopster with me as always. Hoop, what's going on, man? How you doing this week?
Yeah, doing well. I mean, another one of those events where, every name you click on, you're gonna, look at it and say, man, I'm really overpaying for this guy. But, it makes it pretty difficult, when you start building teams, especially if you're going to like hand build and whatnot, to click some of those names. It's not fun. Really looking forward to the playoffs getting started. Obviously, there are some storylines here. We can have the JT conversation. Again, I feel like we've had the JT conversation every week for the last few. And I hate to say it, but your boy's been on the right side of it. So I'm curious to see if you're finally coming over with me this week and saying no to Mr. JT. So that's the one talking point I'm very interested in. But again, it's a weak field event, and we'll go through and see what we can find. Prize pools are the same though, big prize pools on DraftKings. So we'll go through and see what we can find here this week.
Yeah, it's a good event, and different some years than others, because typically, guys that are in, like this is the first year the FedEx Cup is obviously dropping it down to 70 guys getting in and not 125. So all that means a little bit as far as the field strength. It's not crazy. We'll talk through the guys that are here, like the Burns, JTs, Lowrys, all these guys that we'll get to, a bunch more as well. But other seasons, we didn't see as many of them have to show up to try and make their way into the playoffs. There was a lot more guys outside the 125, and most of these guys already had it locked up. So the field little bit stronger maybe in that sense, or at least some more names that you'll know. But yeah, we'll have the JT talk. We'll have all those conversations. See some guys in the chat. Appreciate everybody here watching. So Tambo's in the house. They said, yeah, I was not on the Fantasy Golf Degenerates last night. Shout out to my guy Ryan Baroff filling in with Kenny Kim. I won't be on Mayo. Shout out to Ben Rasa. Get a Rasa show in. I love him. Want to see him on there. It's always great to tune into that one. So we'll see what those guys are up to. I'm traveling tomorrow. Traveled yesterday, last day of vacation. So going somewhere with the kids, the family, everybody, the wife, all are going out after this show. Wanted to get something in for you guys where we can still talk it through for the week, of course, here at ShipItNation.com. Myself and Hoop, as always. So we'll get this out, give some more playback time for you guys to check it out. Weather looks to be pretty set for the most part. Again, always want to check in Wednesday night. I don't want to say it's set, but I just mean it's nothing crazy standing out. We'll go to that in a second. Ownership is going to be condensed. It's a course history type course. People know the spot. The same guys do well here. It's a very, very straightforward setup. You put it in the fairway, you get it to the green. Those that don't three-putt and can find their way through some of these sloping, undulating greens, Donald Ross course design, all these factors, typically the same guys show up. So that will lead to it. Also, lazy week for some. You're coming out, it's the last event before the playoffs. Some people are just over PGA altogether. There's no more real majors. There is a mega at the BMW Championship with the 50-man field. But before we get into it, Hoop, I got to say congrats to my guy. The reason I was away all weekend, I was in Minnesota. My boy Todd, TYA558. I actually met Todd back, OG Gups Corner member. I was working at Gups Corner. Shout out to Gup. I was there. He was a Slack member. We went to the DFS Open. Todd sent us all, I think it was 12 or 18 of the big boy bottles of Tito's for everybody there that was staying at the Airbnb. Just a great dude. Didn't really know him as well back then. That's just where I first met him. Ended up really hitting it off with him, becoming good friends with him. Met him at King of the Beach a couple times now. The live final in New Orleans last year. I was at the Fantasy Golf World Championship with him last year. I think he only came like 21st. I say only because you know what happened this week, but it was nice to see him there. And then this year he invited me back to go with him. So tagged along. Hashtag ship it, baby. Got the job done. So shout out to Todd. It's his second Millie Maker win. First ever live final. He gets an automatic Tournament of Champions seat to go with the $1 million that he just won. So really amazing guy in the Discord. I know he's members to all sites. People claim him all. I don't care about that stuff. He's my buddy. Love Todd. Just an incredible dude. Really happy for him and his family. It was awesome sweating it alongside him. I walked more holes than I should have with my knee. I was feeling it yesterday with the kids out here. I was trying to do as much with them as possible, but walking all those holes with Finau, and the guy just couldn't make anything. And he really just needed Finau to not screw up completely. So it was quite the sweat. but an amazing job. Shout out to this year's fantasy golf world champion winner, Todd, TYA558. Hoop, anything to add, man? Anything you thought over the weekend from last week? We didn't really talk about a recap, but thought I'd bring that up because I was at the event. It was an incredible time.
First off, yeah, congratulations to Todd. Good dude. We've had a lot of interactions with him here in our Discord at SHIPIT Nation. You've built a good personal relationship with him as well. And it's good to see good guys win. And he's definitely a good guy. So congratulations to him and his family. It's super exciting, a big accomplishment, very tough feat, and he got the job done. So congratulations to him. Glad you got to go there as well, and be there along for the ride and enjoy the festivities. So that's a very cool experience. In terms of last week, yeah, it was wild. Like you kind of sent out that tweet like, man, if you're planning on getting 6 out of 6, you better reconsider this week because it's just super hard. And man, it's like the lowest we've seen in a while. So it's definitely something to take note of, going into next year. Is it the water? I mean, I don't know. It's kind of wild to see that it's just so difficult to get 6 out of 6. A lot of massive busts, obviously. And we could see similar situation this week. I mean, it does seem like a pretty volatile week, but it's just weird that 3M Open just continues to be a tough spot to get 6 out of 6 through.
Yeah, I feel like that's the case. Like it's definitely the water. We know it's the most water balls of anywhere. It's the same. I went back and looked at the Honda for last year. Somebody, I think it was Axis, my guy Axis on Axis DFS, I think on Twitter, really good follow. Great dude, has a nice newsletter out there that you can check out. He was saying like, I wonder what it would be like for the Honda. So I quickly ran and checked that, and it was the same. It actually got a little higher. It got like 6 to 10% as opposed to like hovering around that 5% range. But just in general, the water comes in as a factor. And then I think too, the condensed ownership, like there's guys that just get so owned at some of these events, and 3M Open just happens to be one of them. When you have all that condensed ownership, obviously you're going to have some busts in there, and that really challenges the 6 to 6 percentage. So we'll keep it down, mark it in the notes for next year. It's always good to keep notes on these things, talk about analyzing and reviewing, maybe more on that in the future, but just want to say that's obviously something that's important if you're planning on playing this game year after year. And that's kind of what leads into this week. Hoop will segue over. This week is, like I said earlier, like, what you're looking for here. There's the 8 short par 4s. You put it in the fairway, you get it on the green, accuracy off the tee important because of that. The proximity shots, it's like 30% or more from 150 to 175 in that bucket. And then what the greens are. Like they have some undulation to them. It's not like last week. You're probably going to have to come through on Bermuda greens and be able to not 3-putt, right? All these factors that go in with it. So we know what we're looking for here. It will make it seem like obviously these are the best plays, but there's still ways that we can get different. We'll try and talk about that throughout. Anything on like stats, setup, course that you wanted to mention, Hoop? Anything on weather that you see? And then if not, we can hop into these tiers.
Yeah, no, I mean, to me, it just seems in terms of like the pricing and where guys are very similar to last week. There's like kind of those 4 guys in that top tier that, you don't love, but it's like, okay, we kind of need to play them to fill out the salary. It just seems like a very similar setup this week. And then, like you said, accuracy and, not a super long course. So kind of adjust things based on that.
Yeah, some guys that can get there, right? We've seen in the past a lot of these short knockers. It's under 7,200 yards. It's just very straightforward what we're doing. So we'll get into that. Just looking at weather quickly because people always want to check it out. Like right now, the one thing I do notice that seems to be a little bit different, and someone in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know what's been going on lately. I didn't backtrack it yet or anything like that, but doesn't look like rain leading up. Like from what I'm seeing on both the forecast, super forecast, either or, I don't see any rain even thinking about getting started till it looks like Thursday. And it's very limited what we're seeing, like a little tiny bit in the morning, tiny bit in the afternoon, tiny bit the following morning, like just nothing serious. But again, what has happened in the previous years here, we sometimes have a lot of rain coming in. We get those softer conditions early on Thursday morning. And you've seen a lot of guys, I think it's like 9 of the last 10 winners have come from the AM PM wave. And that's the winner coming to that. It wasn't saying like a strict wave advantage, just saying seeing it from that angle, but don't see it the same this year. Again, the strength of field has changed. At least the names in the field have changed a little bit. So again, however you want to perceive that, I think it's kind of important for DFS because like last week, it was so bad, 7,500 and up. It was very limited on who made the cut and who you even needed to have. I think the optimal lineup which is not what this is. We don't build for this, but last week, I think it was around 44,800. Rick Gaiman sends out his email every week, and it's got that in there. And I believe that was the pricing, the total salary usage, 44,800. That is pretty crazy, right? You're not going to build for that. I'm just saying that just shows you that even the Finaus and the Deckies and the guys at the top, they weren't needed. Like they were up there. Finau had a good week. He ended up being in some winning lineups because he's just a product of Cam Young and Im missing the cut. We'll talk about Im too, by the way. The top price here now. And then also Decky doing nothing, right? Decky really hurt some feelings on Sunday. He kind of had a chance to battle back, but he missed a lot of putts, and that was something Todd and I were following as well. So just an incredible week last week, but let's hop into this week, Coop, and we'll start it off. I said we'd start with my guy, and we have to because he's up there. I think I have to what I do. It's Sung Jae down. I'm on limited screens. So
Sung Jae's 10-8, Decky's 10-6, Henley 10-2, and then Burns is 10K flat. I mean, it's weird to see Sung Jae up at the top here after, it's been a pretty rough stretch. I mean, he does have 3 top 30s in his last 5 events, but that is also with 2 missed cuts. So he's missed 2 missed cuts, 3 top 30s. Now he's the top guy on this board at 10-8. I do think, we need to adjust our expectations with some of these top guys. We saw it last week where Tony Finau, where did Finau finish? He was like, what, 5th, 6th, somewhere in that range. In this sort of field, I don't think we need these top end guys to be all the way up at the top. I mean, people are going to fill out most of their salary for the most part. So we need to kind of adjust what we're thinking here. And, Sung Jae, Hideki, Henley are the 3 that I'm kind of looking at this week playing. Now, it's not a situation where I want to go like way over the field. I don't think on any of these guys, but I think they are in play. I mean, Hideki's been playing well, I'd say overall, a lot of, mid-teen finishes, 20 finishes. He finished 30 last week. Had the bad round on Saturday last week. The 73 kind of took him out of it. But overall, he's been playing pretty well. Missed that cut at the Rocket Mortgage, but that was another weird week where a lot of the top guys missed the cut. So he's probably, I'll reluctantly say this, probably my favorite up here. Hideki at 10-6. Sung Jae, I'm going to play some at 10-8. I think it's a good course fit for him. And then the same for Henley. Good course fit for him. Henley was playing very solid for a while, 35th at the John Deere, and then missed the cut at the Open Championship. Not going to hold that missed cut really against him. So I do think he bounces back here nicely. So those are the 3 I'm kind of looking at: Sung Jae, Hideki, Henley. And then with Sam Burns, I'm just not – I say it every week, and I hate to say it over and over, but I'm just not a Sam Burns guy, and I typically don't play him. And it has not burned me basically all season. Like, I have not played him at all, and it's worked out pretty well. So I'll continue to stay off of him. But, yeah, moderate exposure, I'd say, to Sung Jae, Hideki, and Henley is kind of what I'm looking at this week.
Yeah, all the stuff you said there. Like, the thing about Sung Jae here is obviously his history. You mentioned it: 2nd, 24th, 9th, 6th. Henley's got very similar and why people like him: 5th, 7th, 9th. Hideki hasn't done so well here. Burns has only played it the once and got 13th. But the Decky factor you mentioned, so he actually had the best round on Sunday, like as far as stats go, on tee to green and approach. He was just dialed completely. Him and Hodges maybe tight on approach on that Sunday. I had it up here. I was just looking at it. No, Decky still got him there, and Decky got him tee to green as well. And then on the week, Decky was top 10 for both those stats as well. So just looking at it from that perspective, you want to play a guy that's coming in. The iron game is important. Find his way around these greens. I think it could be a good pick here as well. I like, going back to Sung Jae just because we'll talk about Sung Jae and JT in a minute when we get to JT. But obviously, I'm on my guys. It's the last event of the season, regular season event. It's literally the last time likely for JT, unless he can post a top. I think he needs a top 15 or a top 20 here. That was like, again, other things can happen. You can't really pinpoint it exactly besides the guys that need a win. But for him, it's very close, and that's why he's here. Decky added this late as well to his schedule. He was the last one, or last big name at least, that was added to this event. So you can look at it from that perspective. But the thing about Sam Burns, and he's the lowest on my list up here too, but the only reason I'll bring him up, Hoop, is he's already in. So he's here for Ryder Cup, right? He wants to try and get a pick. So if he can, do something here for that, that would be special. And then obviously look at, the main thing that stands out to me is you go to the board above him, the wins he has in the last 2.5 years versus Sung Jae, Hideki, and Henley. It's insane, right? Like, this guy's actually the one that wins tournaments, but would it be this one? And then you talk about course fit and setup and all that. It really suits those other guys better. So I think for me, that's what outweighs the opposite side of it, is sort of the, he's here just for that reason. If he pulls it off, it's obviously great. If he doesn't, you have 3 guys above him that I think fit the course better or are playing better, on top of the fact that you, again, look at some of the history they have here. So Sungjae, Henley, the 2 big ones, I think, and then obviously Decky slides in as 3 for me. So it goes Henley, Sungjae, Decky would be my top 3 in this range. Anything else up here? If not, take us into this next range. I fixed it all up now. It's Adam Scott down to Siwoo Kim, who also has some pretty good stuff that matches up here. But what are you doing in this 9K range?
Yeah, difficult range. At the top you have, Adam Scott not playing great, a few miscuts, and then a 19th at the Travelers, 33rd at the Open Championship. It's a tough price tag for him. I think I'd just find a way to get up to like the Henleys and Matsuyamas and Ims over him. Probably the same for Shane Lowry. Not a ton of interest in him at 9.5K. Aberg, I think it's the first week I'm probably going to be off of him. Like, I've been playing a lot, but I just don't think this is the right setup for Aberg long term. I think this guy can be good, but I don't think this is the spot. I've been playing a lot of Poston. I'll stay on him. I mean, just playing really solid golf. I mean, 6th at the John Deere, 6th at the Genesis, 2nd at the 3M, and then made the cut at the Open Championship. I get it, 9-2. It's not comfortable, but he's playing really well. And the guy that kind of runs hot and cold, he's hot right now, so I'll stay on him. It's probably one of those situations, though, with Poston. If you haven't been playing him, probably just stay off. If you've been playing him, keep riding it. And I've been playing him, so I'm going to continue to ride. He'll be my favorite guy in this range. JT, I get it. I mean, he needs this and, blah, 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 but he is just awful. I made the comparison last week. Like, he should be priced in like Matthew Neesmith range, and it held true. I think it is kind of the similar situation, though. Like I just said with JT Poston, if you've been playing Justin Thomas, probably just play him. I mean, in case something good works out for you. And he does have a good week. But if you haven't been playing him, I think you just stay off. So I've been fading him. I'm going to stay off. If you've been playing a little bit, play him. But man, again, I've been saying it for a long time with him. I just don't think it's all of a sudden going to click. He needs too many things to go right to have a really, really good week. And just everything is off right now. He just looks awful out there. His body language is not good. I'm staying off him. I think, I can't click that name. I just cannot physically do it. And then Siwoo Kim's like a course history guy, tends to play good at the same spots. He's had some success here. 9K flat. I could be on him. So Poston for sure in this range, Siwoo, and I don't really like much else here.
Yeah, I'll echo a lot of the same thoughts. It's because I like those guys up top better. So to your point, that stands out. It's a way to get unique. I don't think I'll get early ownership here just looking at it. And some of these guys are getting love. Poston's definitely going to get love. Siwoo's going to get love. But after that, I don't know. It's like you'll get the balanced range on like Burns, Scott, Lowry, Aberg, but probably Scott stands out a little bit more, maybe Lowry. But those guys will just get some like 12 to 17. I got to put a bigger range on it right now. We'll have it closer to lock on the site to get a better idea of where people are going this week. But the JT point you brought up, I'm really thankful for this, to be honest, because it's the last regular season of the event. It feels like, again, I'm playing him because I played him. I'm not heavy on him. Like, people that follow it just know I've been playing him enough. Like, I'm getting some shares of him. He's been coming in. Even last week, we said it. I was like, he's not going to be under 10% like you think. We know he's coming in at 12 to 15. People are still going there. And that's a good reason why someone like yourself was off him, because you're like, it's not like he's getting no ownership. But to me, what I'm thankful for is that this is the last regular season event. I feel like, man, if this reminds me of like Spieth. I used to say this about Spieth. When Spieth started his downward spiral, it didn't matter to me because I never really played Spieth anyway. And that burned me before when he was winning a bunch. But then when I saved a bunch of money for like 2 years straight of not really playing this guy, I feel like JT can, I don't think it's going to go that hard, but I'm just saying like he'll have an off season to get it right, all these other factors, but there's a lot going on right now. So I'm just thankful that we don't have to play 10 more events where it's, if you were playing him, you got to play him. If you were playing him, you got to play him, because it's kind of how we do things. And for me, I got no problem just having a little bit of him there, but I'm with you. Like, obviously Poston looks really good on paper. He's a winner at this event. The year he won this event, he went bogey free for 72 holes. He played every single hole without a bogey. So pretty impressive stuff to do that for the entire tournament. I like the Siwoo Kim call you had there. He obviously plays well at similar courses and at the comp courses for this one and all of that. Up top, it's probably going to be Adam Scott for me, to be honest, because like you said, with Lowry, feels like I'm paying a bit too much for a guy that's going to get you a top 25. I think that's the funny part. Someone brought this up. I forget where I read this, but it was like Made a lot of sense. The FedEx Cup really rewards high finishes. It's like a DraftKings of golf, where it's like the top heavy stuff, because Lowry has not really had a bad season. He just doesn't have a lot of, I think he has one top 10. And so it's like all those 21st and 25th and 27th and stuff, those don't get you enough points to get up there. I believe he needs a top 3 this week. So there is the motivation. I should have announced that at the start too. Again, maybe a few different names this year, but in the past, everybody plays the Bubble Boys. They've done really bad. There's a reason they're Bubble Boys. Now it's changed slightly because that was 125 versus 70. So yes, that the one thing I will say, the caveat to it is the guy at 76th or 81st, some of these Lowry, Scott, JT guys in this range, they're like 76, 81st, 87th or something. Those guys are of a better talent level. They're not the 130s trying to get 125 that we used to talk about. These are 71, 75s with big names that you would expect to be inside the top 70. Is just a product of the way this year's went, when you've got guys like Lee Hodges, Boat Racing Fields, and Wyndham Clark turning, like finally having a huge season, all these factors where there's other guys that maybe would have been outside that 70 before, but still in, that you're now seeing taken up. So either way, just a note. But, going back to it, Scott, the one thing I always say about this guy, and actually his approach numbers have still been pretty solid, even with the little bit of the lull lately coming back around. He is the guy that I always talk about that you play in these weaker fields. And it even shows here, like it was just 2 years ago. He was in that, he missed the 6-man playoff by missing like a 5-footer at the end. But in the strong fields, it's not as solid. And this year's actually been better overall, not the best lately, but I mean, he just got 19th as well, 33rd. Before that is a 9th, 8th, and 29th. These are much stronger fields. He comes in here. The price seems expensive, but if you're only picking a couple guys in here who, like for me, like Scott, Post, and Kim, and then some JT, that's kind of where I feel like I'm at in here. And that's sort of the range for me. So I got to get some guys up here. I'm going to talk about it more when we get down the board, but I don't mind having a little bit of Adam Scott as well. Anybody else for you in this range? If not, we could talk about my boy Jaeger Bombs and go all the way to Adam Hadwin, Taylor Moore, both at 8,000.
Yeah, a lot more for me in this range. I didn't like a lot in that 9K range. I'm going to come down here and play a lot of guys. I think you can go a balanced build this week as well. A lot of times I try to get the top end guys, but the top end guys this week, a little bit different. We don't have Scotty Scheffler or Rahm or Rory or Cantlay or anyone up top. So I have no problem going more balanced. I think Jaeger would be a fine starting point at 8-9. Continues to play very solid golf, kind of beating up on these weaker fields, which is fine. Like that's totally fine for a guy like Jaeger to come in and beat up on the weaker field events. He's been doing that. I'll be on him. Denny McCarthy, good course fit, 8,700. I like Rye at 8,600 as well, coming off the 20th last week. When he makes the cut, we talk about this every week. When Rye makes the cut, he takes advantage of those made cuts and usually gets a high-end finish. Saw it last week with a T20. You definitely take that. So in on him. Benny on I like quite a bit at 8-4. Rough stretch there for a while, but it's bounced back nicely. Genesis 3rd, 23rd at the Open Championship. I like him here quite a bit at 8-4. Bo Hostler's a guy I think you and I both kind of play a lot of, more than the field. And he's been paying it off nicely for us. 26 at the John Deere, had the 6 at the Barracuda, 13th at the 3M, and I mean he was on fire round 4. Shot that 62 round 4 last week at the 3M. I think he's a great option. Chris Kirk at 8-2. I'll definitely play some of Chris Kirk. He's a guy I play, most weeks that he's in the field. Was really hot to start the season, cooled off a little bit, but had some decent finishes. Back to back at the Rocket Mortgage and John Deere, 14th and 21st. Smalley I do like, and then Adam Hadwin as well, 8K flat. I just think it's a good price tag for him, and he's another guy. A lot of times, if he makes the cut, you have a chance to get a high-end finish, and we've seen it a few times this year. So I'm good with him at 8K. So there are many more guys for me in this range opposed to that 9K range. And like I said, I'm cool with like a balanced build. I mean, this is my favorite range, like by far in this field. I like a lot of these guys and want to get overweight on a lot of them as well.
Yeah, it feels like I talk about this one all the time because it's the one that just strikes a chord with me. And remember, this one is the Memorial, the Billy Horschel one, where it was like 5 8K guys and a 7K guy was on the main winner. Yeah. And it feels like this is this is a range that's going to be loaded up. So I'll talk about it more in the slate plan over on the site at shipitnation.com. If you guys haven't signed up yet, now's the time. We're starting to get the emails and people reaching out, getting excited for football. Yes, football is going to be exciting over there. We got a lot of stuff coming for NFL. We haven't even released a lot of it, to be honest. There's some huge things that we've got coming out. Announcements we're making are not going to be around new guys that we're bringing on that can post big screenshots, all this stuff. Again, you guys know that's not what our business model is. That's not what we're looking to do. We want to help you become a better player, provide you with everything you need to have success with DFS, not just watching Hoop and me win all the time and others that are on our team. Yes, we want to go win. That's what we play to do, but we want to help you win as well, even on your own. We have a lot of self-serving tools, the tools themselves, the projections, the ownership, all of that. We've got some cool partnerships coming up. We want to bring as much value to the site to help you. I was at the event this past week, and I should shout this out as well, Hoop. Like, met a lot of really good people. A lot of people came up to me, DM me, hit me up, got some pictures, hung out, chatted, talked strategy, talked about SHIPIT Nation. Even they, some members that were there, founding family members, even bringing it up and just saying they really like what we're doing, the way we're doing it. And a lot of them echoed the same thing we've said from the start. They said, we just don't have time to watch, 15 shows a week. We don't have time to be in there trying to find out, do I follow this guy, or that guy? They all seem to win, but who do I follow? They really like that we've set it up the way we have. So again, awesome meeting everybody. Appreciate all the support as always out there, but definitely appreciate the feedback. And I'm glad for the most part, everybody that I talked to just love what we're doing. If they were a member of the site, they really hit on some of the key points that you and I talked about when we set this thing off and started it. So excited for NFL coming down the stretch here. We're getting into it now. Some big announcements coming in the first couple of weeks of August that we'll have for you guys with everything going with that. And again, if you sign up now, you get the end of the PGA season. You get the MMA events that are coming up. MLB's crushing. Our guy, Bo Larkin, posted out later. He won the 222 last night, the big single entry for $20K up top. He's in our Discord. Said shout out to our boy Nades on those Tampa Bay lefties. So congrats. Shout out to Nades, always giving the winners. That's what we love to see. So it's just an awesome atmosphere. And I didn't win last night in baseball. I'm not sure if you did, Hoop, or whatever. But no. That's the benefit. It's if we don't win, somebody else is. And that's what we're trying to build, a way that everybody can have access to stuff and we don't all end up on the exact same lineup or dupe train or whatever it might be. We all just want to have a chance to win on the nights that we have our opportunities and have the stuff right over on the site. So I do think that's great. We'll have more on that in the next couple of weeks. But back into this 8K range, Hoop. Jaeger, I'm back. I'm always in on. Again, this is a guy that just the price, it was 9,100 last week, did his job solid enough. 8,900. I don't think he's going to overlooked here, but you can't play everybody, right? That's the thing. And Denny's going to be very popular. We know that. Smalley or Kirk, I can't tell yet because everyone's talking about Smalley, but then Kirk projects better at most places early on. And then on top of that, you see that he's getting mentioned in a lot of places that the common stats are coming up. So when people say, oh, it's about this type of stat, par four is 400 to 450. It's about approach. It's about all this. This is where he pops up. So both those guys, I think, at least get a little love. So a couple different ones here that, again, everyone's going to get some ownership in this range, but just that stand out. You mentioned Bo Hostler, who I'm interested in. I like that he posted that 62 on the way out. I think I prefer Kirky over the Smalley. Obviously, the Smalley narrative, he's a member at the course, I believe, all these other factors. Denny looks really good too, and Denny has everything setting up well for him here. But two notes here, above and below Denny. First off, Aaron Rai, you mentioned him. He's been making a little push. I know some people don't care, but the same thing is the Ryder Cup narrative of getting picked for that team on the European side. My guy Baroff, who filled in on the Golf Degenerates last night, he's talked about this for a while. But Aberg looked good early last week and then did not come through. He got a 64. Someone was joking there at the tournament, said, do they not have water where he's from? This is basically, he was just finding the water when nobody else was in certain spots. Nikolai Højgaard missed the cut last week. Another thing, and meanwhile, like you said, Rye not only did what he does and makes the cut, but he did what he does and made the cut and came through for a top 20 again. So he's here again, seeing this. So we'll have to see how he plays out. And then I don't hear enough talk about this guy. A few people have bet him, but in DFS, because you have Jaeger, McCarthy, Rye, Hostler, Kirk, Smalley, all those guys we talked about. Cam Davis, everyone's talking about the motivation of JT, Lowry, and Scott. Cam Davis is 69th. He has to show up this week. It's a good course for him. He's shown up on similar course. He won on another Donald Ross course, which was the Rocket Mortgage Classic. So Cam Davis at that price point, again, even if some of this stuff picks up steam as the week goes on, it's only early Tuesday getting this out to you guys. But if that picks up, it just balances the rest of the range. So I think in this range, it's key. Pick your guys, take your stands, plant your flags, whatever you got to call it to do it. Find who you want to play in this range and get after it because they're all good plays here. But I don't think you can just sit here and say it's only Denny or it's Denny and this and Smalley because of these two narratives or whatever. There's other guys getting 12 to 15% ownership, but that's the ones that you can get the leverage on if you want to get heavy in this range. And then lastly, Hadwin was another guy that's really picked it up lately down there at the bottom that I also like. I think his results lately are pretty solid besides the 2 missed cuts. It was a 2nd, a 12th, a 59. I think one of those missed cuts was on the number. And then 2 years ago, here was when he last played it. He got 10th place, shows up on very similar courses. He's great, accurate off the tee, finds the greens, pretty good putter, in the sense of the 3-putt avoidance. May end up seeing a few more pars than you do birdies, but that, like when you're wishing you got the birdie, but you get the par. But again, at $8,000, he's under the average price point. So you're not necessarily needing him to come out and win this thing, but I do like him at that price point for that reason. And then, yeah, James, I'm on the travel mend this week. We'll be back Thursday night when Hoop and I do the round 2 show for Showdown. You'll see it all back. It's, not in the studio this week, so don't got that sign here with me. I should have just brought it and posted it up in the back, but same mantra always. You know it. Nobody cares. Work harder. We get after it. Hoop, let's get after this 7K range, man. What do you got here? Let's go 7,900. Patrick Rogers, Gary Woodland, down to 7,500. You've got Pendrith, Glover, Hubbard, and Svensson, who was on Todd's winning lineup last week. And I said it was perfect because Sin, S-I-N, Ship It Nation. I said, yeah, that's how you do it, baby. And the Canadian boy with the Canadian boy. It was just perfect. So we followed him in the morning too. That was a little bit of extra steps I got in. And he was absolutely dialed. He's so fast. He walks ahead of his caddy by like 20 yards.
Love
just
that.
The ball, ready to go, knows kind of what he's doing, gets his caddy's input, hits the shot, and bang, drops it into 5 feet or whatever. It's perfect.
Yeah. He was on my best team last week. Obviously, didn't win as much money as our guy Todd, but he was on my best team last week, so I was kind of rooting him in as well. And the guy, I always play him. Falls off a little bit, obviously, from the 8Ks. Really like the 8Ks. Some guys in this range that I'm looking at, I'm just going to keep playing. Our guy Vincent Norman, 50th last week, not great, but again, down here, you just want someone to make a cut, and then can they make that run to the 20-25 place range? And I think he definitely can. Batia, 7.7K coming off the win at the Barracuda. Another guy that I just kind of like to play each and every week. Eric Cole, 7,700, going to stay on him. 30 place finish last week. You take that. He's a cut maker. He's made a lot of cuts in a row. Thomas Dietrich, 76, a birdie type scorer guy. He can make birdies, 13th at the Open Championship. I do like him. Mark Hubbard, always play in these weaker fields. And then obviously I'm going to stay on Svensson as well at 7,500. So a lot of guys here in this range. I like those 8K guys a little bit more, but I will definitely have exposure to a good chunk of these guys, and no one in this range, this upper 7, is coming in at ownership where you need to be all that worried like they're going to be super popular. Should get pretty spread out down here. I think there is some degree of win upside down here as well. Norman, Batia, Cole, Dietrich, Hubbard, Svensson, definitely my favorites here. I could be talking to some of these other guys though as well. Like, JJ Spawn's probably a play at 7,800. I know he's a guy that you kind of like from time to time. So, I'll probably have a guy like him in my pool as well. But yeah, I like a good chunk of these guys in this range for sure.
Yeah, the range this is where you're going to get different this week. Right now, I'm only really seeing like Eric Cole getting a little love. Billy Horschel, people like to, get back in on what they think they're going to miss out on, because obviously he showed up last week and has a great history here too, by the way. So he does suit the course perfectly. If you think he's heating up at the right time, we've seen that work on guys like Morikawa with that great round and then come back the next week and show up, and some others that we've mentioned in the past. So I think, you can definitely get there. This range has some other guys too, though. Like, again, I'm going to continue Spawn playing with Spawn. He was 37th last week or whatever, using him in my lineups, because last week it was much better than that, but it just didn't turn out. He ended up finishing like 37th. He was really good until that, I think it was the last round where he fell off a little. He had a streak early on and then didn't do anything down the stretch. Akshay Bhatia won the Barracuda a couple of weeks ago. He's got this, the way his membership works, it's weird, but basically these the 2 alternate events didn't count for the points. So he ends up being 92nd in the FedEx Cup. So where he would have been way inside with the win if he got the 300 points or whatever it was for that event. So sucks from that perspective, but he'll be motivated and he plays well. And again, these guys are all under the average price. Funny story though on Eric Cole. We actually met one of the guys we were hanging out with knows his wife is good friends with Eric Cole's caddy. So we're drinking with Eric Cole's caddy out at the bar at the pub. he's having like all these big dogs. And I had to look at my phone. I was like, wait, did Cole miss the cut? I thought he made the cut. He did. He was T15. I was like, his caddy's out getting blasted the night before. I don't know if Eric Cole wants to know that, but I mean, the guy only shot a 1 under on Sunday. And I can tell you, maybe some of those yardage numbers were off just a little bit because, or maybe he's used to it. I don't know. He seemed like he could handle his stuff, but man, I was just like, I was not expecting that. So it's kind of funny from that perspective to, sitting T15 in the tournament, a lot of money on the line for both of them. But either way, I digress. So Harris English, another guy that would set up well, fit this course. Dietrich popped in some of the stats that I brought up, and then Hubbard quite a bit as well. So probably really, Spawn, Bhatia, English, Dietrich, Hubbard are some that stand out, where I think most in this range are going to be on Cole, Horschel, and maybe Woodland or someone like that up at the top. I kind of like some of these other guys in here. So this is where I'll get a little bit different this week. And then Svensson, I will stay on at 7,500, just watching him on Sunday. Like I said, really nothing on the line, just to play whatever the best round he could and pick up any money that he can. Still played really strong. So I definitely like that. Anybody else up here? If not, we can hop down to 7,400 and below.
Yeah.
Go down to 7K. It's quite a range.
Yeah, going all the way down. But I mean, it is funny just that 1 week where they lowered the minimum price down to 5,500, and then you nailed it where it's like it was that 7K range that got hit the hardest in terms of guys not being in that range and coming down into the sixes. Now we're just back to the normal. I mean, 7K is just so many guys in this range. In terms of guys that I think are in play, Adam Schenk at 7,400. Did miss the cut at the Open, but prior to that, 7th at the Rocket Mortgage, 4th at the John Deere. You talk about guys making cuts and, making the most of the made cut. He's another guy. So I do like him at 74. Højgaard at 7.3, missed the cut last week. But again, when he makes the cut, he typically has high-end finishes, and that's what you want. So I'll be in on him. Justin Suh. Garrick Higo, I've been playing a lot of, and I mean, the results have been phenomenal, and they're getting better. Rocket Mortgage, 33rd, 21st at the John Deere, 19th at the Scottish Open, and then 13th last week at the 3M. I'm just going to keep playing this guy. I mean, I'm going to keep playing him. He's on a little bit of a heater. One of those situations. I've been on him. I'm staying on the train. I mean, could he get a top 10 this week? I do think he has top 10 upside the way he's playing right now. In on Higo, especially in this field. You look at this field, it's weaker. I think he can continue his solid play. Ben Griffin, 7,200. Doug Gim, phenomenal what he did last week. I mean, just imagine if he didn't shoot 5 over round 1. He comes back, fires the 8 under to make the cut, which was super, super impressive. But if he just has a decent round 1, he's probably in contention to win last week. Shot the 5 over, obviously took him right out of it, but still finished 27th last week. So, again, I've been playing a lot of Doug Gim. I'm going nowhere. I'm staying on our guy Gimme here for sure. Nate Lashley, disappointing finish last week. I mean, made the cut and then really didn't do much over the weekend. 7,100. I'm going to definitely give him another chance. Davis Riley, prior to the Open Championship, was playing well. You can kind of give him the free pass there, I think. I'll be back on him at 7,100 flat. And then a couple this is one thing that really annoys me. They always do this, like the 7,000 flat number. There's just so many guys at 7,000. Like, I don't understand like how they set this up, but you got 1, 2,
8.
3, 4, 8 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. 8. It's just like don't put them like all right there. Like, do something different. It's obviously something in their algorithm. But in this range, in the 7K range, which I guess is a range that we could talk about on its own because there's so many guys. But Chesson Hadley, I do like. I think he can have some success here. And you really look at it, he's been playing really solid golf. I mean, his last 5 events, 1 missed cut. Outside of that, 33rd, 24th, 6th, and 27th last week. So definitely like some Chesson. MJ Dafu, I've been playing. He's been making a lot of cuts, 6 straight made cuts. And then there's one more. Oh, Chad Ramey, another guy that's just been making a lot of cuts, 7K flat. So I think there are, 3-4 guys at 7K flat that we can consider this week. So again, a range. I do like this range too. So, I mean, I think you can really make the case this week to kind of avoid a lot of the 6K crap. We'll talk about it when we get there next, but man, if I can finish a lot of lineups in the 7K range, I think that's what I want to do this week, because I think there's like legitimate upside here, and you avoid a lot of the 6K risk.
Yeah, and I think it'll work two ways. Again, I'll talk more about it in the slate plan over on the site with the breakdown of it. But I think there's, for roster construction, some stuff you can do as well. So definitely, from what we talked about earlier on the show, I'll tie it all together in the slate plan for the members. But that's one of the benefits of getting that. You can see sort of what I'm talking about when it comes to single entry, 3 max. And I think this is definitely a range we can use to our advantage. But to your point, there's one guy I just wanted to ask you quick though before I go, because you didn't mention Webb Simpson. And obviously it's a different Webb Simpson right now, but do you know Webb's history here and the whole thing with his daughter's name and all that? But 5th, 6th, 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 7th, WD'd last year, but that's, 6 of his last 7 years, he's got top 7s or better.
I'll pass on Webb. I mean, it can't mean that much to him if he freaking withdrew from the event,
I forget what happened actually.
But I'm sure it was an injury or something, but no, I mean, he's just like that's where I'm willing to throw course history out the window when someone is a totally different golfer. I mean, he was like a consistent top 20 guy for, that stretch of good success here. And now I'm not, no thanks on Webb.
Yeah. And then the other thing too, is obviously he's, coming down a little bit. Like his caddy is now his previous caddy, Paul Tesori, is with Cam Young. And it was like a blessing thing, my understanding, where it was like, please go, Paul. Like, I love you, your family, but I'm going to kind of take it easy now moving forward. So this is like just going to be a fun event on his schedule. How he plays that is much different. Again, only 7,400. If you wanted to go there and play that bit, you could. I don't have him rating out nearly as good as some of these other guys around him, so it would make it tough for me. But I guess I missed Lucas Glover was right above him. It's kind of the same dude, and people loved him last week. It doesn't look like they'll love him as much this week. Like you're calling Adam Schenk. Brendan Todd, I don't know how many people will get there. They probably more than we see right now, because really when you think about the perfect player for this course, a guy that just hits fairways, hits greens. He hasn't had the best success here, 10th and 36th the last 2 years, some miscuts before that, but coming in off a 56th, second, 49th, at least there's a second where you can get a spike week out of him. And again, the price pretty much dictates everything. So Brendan Todd right there, he's interesting. Had some others here. Justin Suh, he's been playing some good golf all season. He's at 7,300. Kevin Streelman, kind of to me is like the Billy Horschel play, but I'd rather play Kevin Streelman instead. So for like $300 less, I can get basically the same guy that I think has had just as good, if not better, success at some comp courses, things like that, where I can go to Kevin Streelman here at 7,300. Ben Griffin played well here last year. I believe it was a 13th. Wu played well here last year. Ben Griffin's been playing some better golf lately too, so I don't mind those guys. Doug Gim, who you mentioned, just keeps going off. If nobody's going to play Putnam, I could go to Putnam. It's, again, just more of a field play, but making cuts, 5th, but then the rest are all 40s. But he did have a 27th here last year, and the stat profile looks better, so I could go to him. And then I got to bring this guy up, Nicholas Lindheim. He's a Korn Ferry Tour guy. Wins 7th, 8th, and 26th, I believe, are the four results that we got on him that you can see. And he had an injury before that and all this other stuff. So again, you're not going to see it translate as much, but he's seen the course before. He's a much better golfer now. He's at 7,100. Not sure what his ownership will be like as of yet. It looks like people are catching on, so maybe 7 to 10%, but he's at least somewhat interesting there. If he picks up too much steam, you'd have to almost just laugh and just, hold your nose and see what happens here, Hoop. But Eckroat at the same price after just burning absolutely everyone last week. One of his rounds last week, round 1, I believe it was, he gained like 3 strokes on approach and lost almost 3 with the putter. That to me was, and then the wave technicality of the next day, because all that rain came down the night before. So the morning got better than the afternoon. I don't know, like it evened out the wave, but in general, if everyone's going to go off Eckroat after playing him at 25% last week, some cases he was as high as 40 in these high dollar, smaller fields. What are your thoughts on Eckroat right there at the bottom?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting spot where you can go back to a guy after busting that it has been popular, but he just has not been playing well. And he had a nice little hot stretch where he's playing really solid golf. We were on him, but man, like he just has not been great. And I'm fine staying off of him. I mean, he had missed the cut at the Rocket Mortgage, 65th at the Scottish Open, then missed the cut at the 3M. And I don't know, it just seems like these guys that get hot out of nowhere, and then when they come crashing back down to reality, it's hard for them to get that momentum back So I'm fine staying off. I mean, I know it's, the difference in ownership between last week and this week is going to be substantial, but there's so many guys like in this range, right? I don't think I need to get like too cute and go back to a guy like Eckroat. So I'll be off of him.
Yeah, sometimes I just do that because, and it could be stubborn of me, but I just think, again, if they loved them last week, I know a lot of people are bringing up stuff. Again, there's better comp courses that not like I wouldn't include last week, but the idea of an accuracy course, and that's where you liked Eckroat last week for his accuracy and staying out of the water. It didn't work, mind you, to your point. But if you liked him so much for that, why would you not like him for here? That's kind of my thoughts. Again, there could be other reasons, but I don't hate it. So he's there. Reeve is the same price though. Riley, you mentioned, like you can play these guys. Kevin Yu had that crazy round going and then sort of fell off a little bit, but looked good on Saturday. Just so many guys. Bez, KH Lee. I bounced back on him. I should have played TPC Lee Hodges before I played TPC Lee, KH Lee last week, but same price, and Lee Hodges won. So there was that. Your boy Hadley, who you mentioned, has actually played well at this course. He gets better every year. It was like 51st, 18th, and 5th or something, like or 15th and 8th, I think. So
he's from the area too, right? I believe
from so. Yeah. That's sort of the other thing people bring up about him. And then Ramey, who you brought up also. So there's a bunch of guys. I'm not playing them all. I'll pick my spots when I get to the lineups and we're setting up the core report, the slate plan, everything I've got over at SHIPITNation.com. It's the only content that I'm doing on screen this week with the way the travel is. So appreciate everyone for tuning in and the support as always, but that's what it's going to be for this week. So if there's a lot of guys in this range hoop, I'm not going to play them all, but I do think, like to your point, there's going to be an angle in going into the 7K range. Let's move on though. Let's wrap this thing up. We got the 6K range, 6,900 at least, has some guys, but then after that, it gets a little bit slim. Talk to me about what you're doing in this 6K range.
Yeah, I want to avoid it as much as possible, to be honest. I'm not seeing much down here. Lipsky, 6,900. I think I'm, somewhat interested in. Callum Tarrant coming off the 13th last week. I definitely can go back to him. Maybe a little bit of Matthew Neesmith at 68. I think he's an option down there. But then it just falls off like super quick. And, Troy Merritt, 66. Yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit if I need someone down here. Zach Blair, 6,500, the 13th last week. I will play him. I think he's a fine option. A little bit of Malnati. Like he could pop on a course like this. It is a pretty solid course fit for him. That honestly might be about it. I'll dig a little deeper, but I'm willing to say at this point, there's not many guys down here that will make my top 30 on the website. Have my player pool, it's my top 30 with my exposures. I just don't anticipate many 6K guys being in my top 30 this week. And depending on how many teams I end up making, like I don't know if I'm going to have much. I really don't. I think there's such a difference between the guys down here and even the guys in like the lower sevens, which I like quite a bit. There's just I don't see much like top 20, top 30 upside. Can some of these guys make cuts down here? Yeah, absolutely. But man, I'm just not seeing it. And I'm going to do my best to not play a lot of these guys. If that means I need less Sungjae or Hideki or Henley, that's fine. I want to, avoid this range as much as possible and, maybe look at 4 or 5 in 150. And that's about it.
Yeah, and there's nothing that forces you down to this range. Like even if you go 2 10K guys, you don't need to hit this range. So we talked about all the guys at the bottom of the 7. Shout out my guy Brandon, by the way. Said nice meeting you. Nice meeting you, man. Good luck this week. Yeah. It was an awesome event at the 3M Open. But just to say it as always, hoop, again, play your guys down here. Last week I had Zach Blair and Lipsky. We're in the tier rankings, so hopefully that helps some people win some big money. I got another mega ticket, by the way, last week. I didn't want to, not just going to post that out, but I'm excited. I get to go 2 tickets at least into this next mega. Like last time, it didn't work out last one, but maybe I can go get the next $1 million shipper. So we'll see about that. But I'm going to stick with some of the same guys, Blair and Lipsky. 2 guys here again. I'm going to go right back to them. I thought they were fine. I am going back to the well on Matthew Neesmith. I almost put him in the core report over KH Lee last week, and they both missed cuts. So it didn't matter, but I really did kind of like both those guys. They both broke my heart. Lee tried to get there on the round 2. Neesmith wasn't horrible. Just again, now I think about a course this sets up for, and everything I said at the start, fairway, green, that's what he does. And then, usually decent enough putter that it's not going to be a 3-putt. He may, again, it may be very reminiscent of I forget who I mentioned earlier on this, but you may see more pars. I think it was Adam Hadwin. You see more pars than birdies. But now we're talking even less. Now we're talking 6,900. I can get away with that, or 6,800 actually for him. So I got no problem with that. Party Marty Laird looked pretty good last week. Sig would fall into the thought of Ekro. Like everybody loves Sig last week. Why not this week? Tyler Duncan and Laird were the two I had started that played pretty good last week or good enough at these price points. And again, they're almost 7K anyway. It wouldn't make a difference to me. So those guys, Ben Martin stands out a little bit. And then maybe that would be it, right? Bermuda Benny, I think they call him. So he can go and putt on these greens. I don't really have much else. And like you said, Hoop, I think the big thing is I recognize that week with the price increase, we're back to having so many guys in the 7K range now. That week we only had 30 total. This week we have 30 from 7,400 to 7K. And remember, it goes both ways. That week we had guys in the 11K range and at 12.5. This week we have nobody over 10.8. So you really don't need this range. But to me, I classify like 6,700 and up. Same thing. They all could get put in there. It's just like it's an algorithm thing. I just don't know if you need it. And that's not somewhere where I say, oh, if I go $6,800 Neesmith instead of 7K Chesson Hadley, I didn't use the 7K guy. So that's a unique construction. Technically, yes, but they're the same dude. You can just play whoever you want at that point. I'm just saying about overall thoughts on the pool. Don't need that. What did the chat just ask us about? P Just?
Yeah, I'm not sure who that is.
Just? Don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you got, Hoop? Anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here?
No. I mean, probably another volatile week. I mean, I'd anticipate 6 out of 6, probably pretty low. Again, maybe spread out the player pool a little bit more, get exposure to more guys, more combinations. It's a tricky week. I mean, these weeks are always tricky where that top tier, there's just no guarantees in there. We saw it last week with the missed cuts. Cam Young, Sung Jae missed the cut. Like, could see that again this week. So, I mean, maybe spread things out a little bit more. But, as Quasty's asked about, I'm not on them. But as I always say, the prize pools are big. So there's money to be had. And, you say it all the time. This is like a lazy week where people just aren't going to like dig in and figure out the right plays, the right process, the right roster construction, put in a little extra work this week. Maybe you have a little bit of an advantage. Looking forward, obviously, to the playoff starting. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then the NFL product, like you said, putting some finishing touches on that. We're going to have some relatively big announcements over the course of the next 2 weeks. Like you said, we're not bringing on, big names with screenshots or anything like that. These are announcements that are going to benefit our members and anyone considering being a member at SHIPIT Nation. So we're very excited to make those announcements coming up very soon within the next probably week, 10 days. So make sure to stay tuned to everything over here at SHIPIT Nation. Follow us on Twitter, subscribe to this channel. It's an exciting time right now, and we're very proud of the next steps leading up to NFL.
Yeah, super excited for that. Lots more to come. If you don't follow us yet, go to Twitter at SHIPIT Nation. You can follow us there. That's where the announcement will be made, obviously. And then myself, Hoop, guys like that will tweet it all out. Our Twitters, I think, are in the description below. You can check that out. Then, of course, on this channel here, like this on the way out. Didn't ask for a like yet. I'm on vacation. Help me out. I appreciate it. But do that like button a favor, hit the thumbs up, and then on top of it, subscribe to our channel here at SHIPIT Nation. We're going to try and grow this as much as possible leading into football, where we know it will pick up even more steam from there. And then Bernard said Peter Quest, you mentioned it, but just to go back, like that's always my point, Bernard. If you are playing him, play him. Like if that's your guy and you want to be, you don't want to miss out, or you'll be mad or sad if you don't hit on him, get him in your pool as one of your guys. I play Lipsky every week. I play guys like that, and some weeks it works out. Like last week, I'm going right back to him this week, so I'm playing different guys in that range. That's going to do it for this one, though, guys. Last regular season event of the year for Hoop, for myself, ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it!